convince you that if we do these little things differently, take care of the basketball, don't foul at a high rate.
It wasn't about the rookies. It was about all the talent in the league.
So because she surpassed that, now that she's surpassed dominating all the rookies, she's chasing Asia now.
You'll be surprised to hear that Carrington's violent attack on Caitlin Clark led to his suspension, along with DJ and me. It wasn't your typical trash talking or shoving. It was a poking of the eyeball straight up. Caitlin Clark, the WNBA's brightest star who's been destroying defenses across the board, had to worry about her vision all of a sudden because some third stringer felt that physically attacking Clark would be the best approach to handle her brilliance. Not making any excuses, in the opening 2 minutes of the match, Caitlin Clark is attempting to pass the ball. And when she swats at the basketball, this woman, for some reason, decides to put her hand down under her fingernails and poke Caitlin Clark in the eye. She had no idea, though, that Clark would not be defeated by flimsy methods. These alleged strategies won't be able to prevent her from scoring. And what do you know? All these so-called competitors are revealing their true colors now that she's won Rookie of the Year. Green with jealousy and unafraid to get unclean. Dijon and I have fun when sitting on the bench. You can give it a go, but then your hand suddenly turns down and lands squarely in the face of the biggest player in the WNBA. Yes, you've clearly got a good look in my eye. At times we had trouble getting stops, but we also experienced clock glitches. Everything happened one after the other. Overall, though, I wasn't bothered by it. Carrington's act on Caitlin Clark was a cheap sideshow trick, suggesting that she was studying under the WWE. Imagine being on the court for so long that the most you can do to help your team is an eye poke. Yesterday was Caitlin Clark's first WNBA playoff game, and she was attacked. Carrington, you had to be kidding me. Really? This isn't a backyard fight. This is the WNBA. But hey, you got to use desperate measures to get folks to even remember your name when your highlight reel is as empty as a movie theater popcorn bucket. And your stat sheet looks like a blank page. But damn it, this Dijon Carrington stabbed Caitlin Clark in the eye with her fingernails in the first 2 minutes of the game, severing the eye of one of the top players in the league. Yes, Dijon, that was a very wise move. When you can just become a third-grade bully, why even try to guard Clark or, oh forbid, make a significant contribution to your team's postseason run? Congratulations if you were attempting to send a message. It is distinct and loud. You have no manners, no skill to support your actions, and no regard for the game or your teammates. It was as if you were trying out for a horrible sports movie villain role. When Dijon Carrington made fun of Caitlin Clark on the court, she also engaged in a rough game with her back. And look, did Caitlin Clark do some flopping and misframing? Maybe I'm just pointing this out to them because of what occurred yesterday. And let's not act like this was a spur-of-the-moment incident or a small mistake. Looking someone in the eye is just plain rude. Make no excuses. This isn't a play in basketball. It goes beyond simple physicality. It's the action of a player who understands that skill alone won't be enough to win. It goes beyond being unsportsmanlike. It is pitiful. When you did that, the announcers probably had to ask you again who you were. Even more insulting is the fact that Caitlin, being the fierce fighter that she is, continued to play after your dirty shot. Although her numbers were lower than normal, do you really believe that you stopped her? No, you've only exacerbated her anger. Furthermore, even with bruises and frustration, Caitlin Clark is still preferable to a completely recovered Dijon Carrington on her best day. Need evidence? Clark scored 11 points and sent out 8 assists despite having a literal handicap, which is probably more than you have in your previous 5 games combined. Not to mention you were busy being the latest joke on the internet while Clark was busy holding her own. This is not acceptable. Dijon Carrington should also be punished for the second game. Well done. Not only were you humiliated during the match, but you also turned into the antagonist in the eyes of all true sports fans. Did you think you'd appear tough doing this? Nope, it made you appear insignificant, helpless, and completely forgettable. Dijon is among those that truly find it difficult to get along with Caitlin Clark. Dijon, what did you get? A few minutes of fame, a popular hashtag, or even a highlight on a compilation of the year's worst moves on a blooper reel? Since your clip has, let's face it, become an enduring symbol of what a cheap, nasty player looks like. PR efforts won't be able to erase this from your record. One thing will come to mind each time your name is spoken. You couldn't handle her skill, so you poked a star in the eye. That is now your legacy. Congratulations. It's critical that we make this clear. When I spoke about Caitlin Clark this morning, I mentioned a few guys who, if you want to call them jealous, are fine with it. Okay, so you want to utilize the term jealousy. The WNBA is currently forced to decide whether to punish a player for something as blatantly immoral as this, which is not a situation it should be in. Let's be honest about it. They might as well give eye patches to every player and rename the league the Wild West Basketball Association if they let Carrington get away with it. Do you believe that affected the game in any way? Do you believe that the court should purposefully stab your meal ticket in the eye? I'm not advocating for a suspension for each severe foul, but really this was blatantly irresponsible. Less has resulted in bans from the WNBA. Hell, I've seen guys penalized for making a little offensive remarks. But glaring in the face of one of their biggest stars, yes, more than a reprimand will be required for that. A fine ought to have been imposed after that. What will the WNBA be like then? Will you genuinely provide evidence to support the veracity of your gaming speeches, or are we merely on display? This is the same league that has been pleading for increased recognition, respect, and viewership. Her popularity at the box office is drawing greater attention to the WNBA merchandise, consequently increased sales and profit for the WNBA's merchandise. Do you not believe that y'all will gain something from that as well? And now you have a player that isn't your typical rookie. It's Caitlin Clark here. We are discussing your sports future. You're also telling me that there's a disagreement on whether Carrington ought to be held accountable. It's nonsensical. You have to decide whether to set a standard now or prepare to deal with dishonest players who believe it's free reign to take cheap shots. What about the analysts? Well, they really had a ball with this one. Stephen A. Smith did not hold back in his criticism of Carrington's transformation of what ought to have been a circus performance into a competitive, hard-fought series. You have to speak up when a player like Caitlin Clark, who is the sole reason the WNBA is gaining more attention, is the target of some nobody attempting to make an impression. Due to the fact that she is white and the golden girl who is regarded as the sports commercial savior. Even Jason Whitlock, who is normally too busy making fun of everyone else, had to stop to tell DeJona that if an assault is your greatest contribution to the game, you might want to reconsider your choice of profession. Acting out a part is one thing. Being the type of person who no one wants to work with due to your inability to control yourself is quite another. And let's not even discuss how pitiful this portrays Carrington as. Even though Caitlin Clark is carrying bruises from her game, she scored more points than DeJona has likely seen in practice. She's earned a position on the all-rookie team and is putting up numbers that Carrington could only dream of, even on a bad night. Let's speak honestly, it cannot be compared. DeJona should have completed her homework before performing this prank, right? What is her current legacy? The player who actually believed she could take out a superstar was ridiculed by supporters, pundits, in the basketball community at large. Like many of these girls in the WNBA, DeJona has a history with Caitlin Clark, but she's the best. This is where we are, then. The WNBA must make the decision to take player safety seriously or to overlook this incident and encourage other players that risky conduct is acceptable as long as it's not overt. They must keep in mind that Caitlin Clark isn't just any player, regardless of what they decide. She is the one that everyone is observing as the face of the league's future. And the message is obvious if DeJona Carrington is permitted to leave this with only a warning. The WNBA doesn't give a damn about safeguarding its finest players. If she had been stabbed in the eye and had fallen to the court, the referees would have taken it more seriously. To top it all off, everyone in the league is observing to see what penalty you are going to receive. Savor the tension. Perhaps you will receive a fine from the WNBA, or perhaps they will choose to use you as an example. In any case, one thing is certain. You've just made yourself a very big target. Gamers will attack you more forcefully. The referees will be watching you closely. Fans will never forget this, too. Some body contact occurs. These guys occasionally appear on television and engage in moves when they are merely getting physical. A great deal. I believe that to be occurring early. I felt that a B was missing certain calls that she probably ought to have been answering. What will happen to DeJona next? In the upcoming game, I prod Carrington to try biting ankles and possibly tripping someone. You will never be recognized for your game, no matter what you do. You'll be known as the player who was too good to hang with the big dog, so she had to resort to playground shenanigans. Essentially, all you accomplished was validate our already knowledge. Simply put, you're not up to Caitlin Clark's level. Never been in the past, never intend to be. DeJona, enjoy the blowback. That's all your pitiful stunt is bringing you.